All right, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening. It's your host, Brian Forbes, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is The Black Factor. Now, in case you're wondering, I'm sitting here with my mask on. Y'all, my allergies is kicking up. I don't want to get nobody the cootie, so y'all that want to scratch and sniff on the screen. Y'all know I'm just joking. No, but really, my allergies are kicking up. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do the show today. So, just for the record, if y'all catch me sneezing and sniffing and carrying on, just know that I am going to take a nose break, just so you know. And with that said, I want to welcome everybody to The Black Factor. If you're new, thank you for checking in. We appreciate your presence. I want to say hello to my Oh So Smooth family out there when you check in on us on the Wednesdays with the simulcast. This is The Black Factor, where we got the news that you can use. So y'all got to keep up with black media. That's what this is. This is black media because we black and this is media. And we bring it to you in ways that others cannot. Perspective is everything. And we got that for you right here on The Black Factor. Don't forget you can also check us out on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at the same time because we live on all those platforms right now. Not yesterday, but right now. So, with that said, y'all, let's get this party started. All right, we are in the building, and it's time to get it in. We're going to chop it up real tough and talk about everything that's going on. Let me start out right away, straight off the bat, y'all. One of our Black Factor family has fallen ill to the COVID virus. Y'all, my man, cousin Dennis McCullum is laid up sick. Dennis, if you out there, man, we love you. Ladies and gentlemen, show some love to Dennis McCullum. Throw some hearts up. If you're on the Facebook feed, if you're on the other feeds, throw up some love. Show Dennis some love. Let him know we miss him. We need him back here on The Black Factor because he is absolutely a necessity around here. We appreciate him. And y'all let him know you hope he gets better. We all want him to get better. We want him to feel better. Mr. Dennis McCullum, Black Factor family. All right, so y'all, tonight I'm going to basically do this. I ain't going to say it's a recap of the week, but, you know, it's been a real interesting week around these here parts. Today, y'all, some wild stuff happened today. But I was watching the case that I've been watching, you know, this Derek Chauvin case, because let's be very, very clear. Every time anybody talks about this case, the very first thing that they say is the George Floyd case. George Floyd is not, I repeat, is not on trial. He is the victim, although they are making every attempt to victimize him. Derek Chauvin is on trial. Now, the most senior officer of Minneapolis Police Department said today that his actions, the knee to George Floyd's neck, were completely and totally unnecessary. So what does that tell you? Now, this is the second officer in as many days to say the exact same thing. And not one officer have we seen that are news pundits, correspondents, whatever, interviewed. Not one of them have said anything about anything that he did being appropriate. And that just, I guess, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that finally some type of standards are being put into place that will allow these police with their excessive force and their brutality to be looked at under a microscope a little closer, just to be, you know, paid attention to. Because, I mean, let's face it, y'all, this ain't nothing new to the rest of us. This has been going on. It's just a shame that this is what it had to come to. You know, every time somebody has to die at the hands of a police officer who thinks he's God, who thinks he's the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And we all know that ain't cool. That ain't cool. Now, this brings me to my next point. Y'all remember on Wednesday we talked about this guy, Maurice Hall, right? Maurice Hall is the friend of George Floyd, who was in the vehicle at the time when he was first ran upon with a firearm by the so-called authority. And also, he was the one who started kind of running his mouth, him and the girl in the back seat. Well, anyway, this guy, Maurice Hall, I told y'all, funny thing about him, I suspect there's going to be a lot more coming out of this. Not that this is the stuff that's on trial. It's not the part that makes any difference to me. But it's just interesting when you start to get these little bitty facts, these little things start to come into the game. Anyway, he first claimed, and I told y'all on Wednesday, he claimed he was going to plead the fifth. He was going to plead the fifth. He was going to say that he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to have nothing to say on the grounds that he might incriminate himself. In case y'all didn't know, the Fifth Amendment is very much for that purpose, for the purpose of you not telling one thing because you don't want to tell on yourself. Angela Renee, thank you for stopping in. I see Big Nate is in the building. Lonnie, my man Lonnie is in the house. Atlanta's in the building. We got Atlanta, Houston. We got all over the country. Jaquilla's in here with me and Riri. Hey, Riri. Over here kicking it with us, Riri. That's my Riri. Riri, you good people. You know that? I like you, Riri. So Maurice Hall is taking, or supposedly going to take, the fifth if he is called to testify. Now, his lawyer, he's got a court-appointed lawyer because apparently he don't have no money. And his attorney asked that the subpoena be quashed. In other words, they want that thing to be thrown out. Tracy Cisco is in the building. Hey, Tracy. And so this guy, he's 45 years old. And apparently in 2019, he caught a domestic violence case, a charge. And he was going to be, or probably was convicted anyway. It had conditions, I'm guessing, for them to leave, let him, remain free while he, I guess served his time, so to speak. You know how they do that. I can't think of what they call it when they not commute the sentence, because it wasn't commuted. But anyway, apparently he supposedly violated a protection order. Because in 2019 he pleaded guilty to domestic assault by strangulation. Oh, that's what it is. And they gave him what they're calling a stay of sentence. So the thing is this. Apparently this whole thing is like 3 years old. But here just recently, all of a sudden, they decided to violate him on this thing. Now, Hall told that when the day they got caught up over there with the police, Hall told the other officer, Officer Lane, that he didn't have any ID. But the court records show that Hall was at that time, right when they were killing George Floyd, he was wanted in Hennepin County on 2 charges of third-degree drug possession. See, the drugs that were supposedly in George Floyd's system, which the girlfriend testified to on Wednesday, they bought drugs from this guy, Maurice Hill. So the drugs apparently, as well as the $20 bill, came from the same guy, this Maurice Hall. Dude was busy because the store clerk recognized him from earlier in the day trying to pass a counterfeit 20 when he took the 20 from Floyd, and then he realized the two of them were together, and he checked the bill, and it turns out that it was also counterfeit. So, and he said he didn't think George Floyd even knew the bill was counterfeit. So now, anyway, this guy was wanted at the time on 2 charges of third-degree drug possession and for being a felon in possession with a firearm. Now, this was on that day. So, and of course, the domestic assault. So Judge Peter Cahill, the same judge overseeing the Chauvin trial, signed one of the warrants in February of 2020. So see, this guy had been in front of that same judge before. Now he's being subpoenaed to come to court in response to, or for his testimony for George Floyd's killing in front of the same judge. The plot thickens. So Hall left Minneapolis right after Floyd died. You know, I told y'all he fled, he ran. Now, I said the other day I wasn't going to say he fled, but he said himself he fled, so I'm going to let that ride. He flew the coop. And he left Minnesota, and the Minnesota Bureau of Apprehension told authorities in Texas, when they got an opportunity, gone over there and scoop homeboy up. So they took him into custody a week later in Houston. Now, he's saying that if he has to come to court and testify, he ain't got nothing to say. Because, of course, in pleading the fifth, he clearly understands that anything he says can and probably will be used against him in the court. He don't want to incriminate himself. And I mean, obviously, he is in deep. Dude, is way more to this as to how they ended up in this whole situation. And if dude starts singing, trying to talk and help his homie, he gonna be hurting himself all at the same time. So I don't know. That's a ugly situation. But what are you gonna do? Now I wonder to myself, is it a coincidence that he is now under the microscope because of this case and because he decided he was gonna take the fifth? Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Who's to say? Georgia, once again, well, not necessarily Georgia, but let me just say this. My hats are off. My hat. I can't even wear a hat right now, y'all. Y'all see all this hair? I used to be able to wear my hats and, be kind of fly, but all this hair on my head, this afro, won't let me be great. Anyway, my hat is off to the Major League Baseball Association. Major League Baseball, y'all, within the last hour or two have announced that they intend to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Adios, Georgia. Why? Why are they moving the All-Star game and the draft out of Georgia? Well, about a little over a week ago, Georgia passed that crazy law where they decided that they were going to try and disenfranchise voters. The passage of the SB 202 bill, and which is the Georgia law that says that if you decide that your elderly grandmother's in line and she's got to wait 4 hours because they removed all the polls from all over the city and put only 2 of them in your neighborhood and grandma can't get no further down the road, well, if you go and you try and give her a sandwich and a bottle of water because she's been standing out there for 99 hours trying to cast her ballot, you can go to jail. And all of the polling places that they're closing and all of the times that they've changed and all the things they're doing to help people to miss opportunities to exercise their civic duty in America. So Major League Baseball said, you know what? I got y'all. This is what it is. Because all this takes us back to the Jim Crow era. For those of us who didn't even grow up in the Jim Crow era, now we get to see how it feels. And I promise you, if we keep going, we're going to get to see how it feels. This is every attempt to try and keep black people from voting. MLB is making a statement, and they're saying that this goes against their values. But you know what? It's funny, y'all. How many of y'all saw that Ray Charles movie, Ray, with Jamie Foxx? And they had the scene where him and doggone, I can't think of his name. Anyway, Lorenz Tate character, Barry Gordy, they were going to attempt, well, he was supposed to be doing a concert there. And Georgia, being a segregated state, told him he couldn't possibly, he wasn't going to do a concert there if they remained segregated. So he left the state, and the promoters got so mad that the Good Old Boy Network went into full effect. And when they did that, they said he couldn't come back to Georgia. Well, guess what? Georgia was in more pain than he was. He still got his money, and he still became the legend that he is today, and he still became famous. And all Georgia got from that was an opportunity to look like the racist colony that it was. Now, y'all remember we did a whole story on the Georgia being the last colony created as a buffer state. It was created as a way to maintain slavery. Yet another Georgia milestone. Anyway, so they have taken it upon themselves to stand on it. Rob Manfred, the Major League Baseball commissioner, he said this is the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport. I think that is fantastic. And I cannot wait. And matter of fact, I want to say I was watching something the other day, and I saw where Coca-Cola has also begun to take a stand against Georgia and we know Coca-Cola, that's Coca-Cola headquarters right there in Atlanta. Got the big old, all of their stuff right there. So they're all taking a stand, and I think it's great. Anyway, Manfred went on to say the Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box. I don't know why is it necessary to restrict people? Why is it necessary to hold people, keep people from exercising their civic duty? It just goes to show you this is still America. So they're in the middle of finalizing a host city right now, and the information is pending. So we'll know about that pretty soon. Now, the highlight of tonight's show, and just so y'all know, we ain't gonna do this for too long tonight. I'm gonna get out of here early, and I'm gonna get out of here early because I have those these cootie allergies. You know, I got the allergies, and I spent the last couple of days outside building a storage shed, you guys. And let me tell you, I've been out there in that pollen, and it has torn me to shreds. So I am making it through this slowly. Let me knock on wood because I might be speaking too soon. Anyway, so y'all, today, a Capitol attack. Somebody, I'm going to give you his name. Somebody decided to make a run on the Capitol. Unfortunately, Officer William F. Evans, an 18-year veteran, was killed in that attack. So I want to say rest in peace to him, and his family has my condolences. 2 Capitol officers, one was injured, one was killed. And I'm going to say right now that the Capitol Police officers have a lot to contend with here lately. And that is not cool. In fact, I have a friend that is an officer there, and I pray for his safety. And he is on the front line protecting America, straight up. It's one of my homeboys from way back in the day. So keep your heads up, keep your eyes open, and watch out for these wackos. And I probably shouldn't say that part, and there's a reason why. It is obvious in this case, and y'all know we have done multiple shows on mental illness, and it is quite obvious that this gentleman was mentally ill. However, there's going to be a twist to this. This thing is developing. It just happened this afternoon. I think that there's going to be some fallout behind this that is not going to be good, and it will probably be directed at the black community. Why? Because the killer was black. Officials with Christopher Newport University and Newport News Friday night confirmed Noah Green, that's his name, y'all, the man shot and killed by police after he rammed his car into the barricade outside the U.S. Capitol and struck 2 officers, played football for that school. Green graduated from CNU with a degree in finance in 2019, according to Jim Hanchett, CNU Chief Communications Officer. Hanchett also said Green played football for the school for the fall of 2017 and 18 seasons. His bio on the 2018 football roster says Green's hometown is Covington, Virginia. He went to Allegheny High School. Y'all, did you hear what I said? The man was black, and he attacked the Capitol. So this leaves me with a whole bunch of questions, y'all, like always. Now, he said, obviously on social media, because they didn't have an opportunity to interview him because he was killed. They say what he did was he rammed the gate. After he went through the gate, he hit 2 officers, one of which died, I think, at the hospital. The other one is in serious condition. He then jumped out of his car with a knife and began to charge other officers, at which time they shot him dead. But once again, he was black, y'all. He said, and again, I'm guessing this is from social media, that the U.S. government is the #1 enemy of black people. Now, he may not have actually said that. I did see a photograph with those words at the bottom, sort of like a meme. So I'm guessing that was probably on his social media page. And let's see. We have a picture of this gentleman right here. Noah Green. Now, notice the caption at the bottom. Follower of Farrakhan. Oh, you know they're going to eat this up. They are going to demonize, dehumanize, and find every reason in the world to hate Minister Farrakhan because of this guy who, to me, had a level of paranoia, which obviously, more than likely, is paranoid schizophrenia. Now, I know many people haven't been around that. That man apparently believed that the United States government was out to get him, and that they had been following him around, and all of the problems that he was having were because of the CIA and the FBI and other agencies like that. Now, here's the thing, y'all. I have had close proximity to some people with schizophrenia. Paranoid schizophrenia, to be exact. He believed, like the other individuals whom I've been aware of that have had this, he believed that he was being targeted with mind control. Now, we can laugh about it and we can make jokes, but this, in fact, is a real thing, and he is not the only one, nor is he alone in this in any way. There are plenty of other individuals with these same ideas, and it is mental illness. It's not a laughing matter, actually. So we have to continue pressing forward with the information that I try to bring here on the Black Factor in regard to mental illness, because, you know, like I said, we've done a few shows and we're going to continue doing even more so that we have more clarity and understanding, and if whatever possible way we can try to get as much help for individuals who need help in that way. And since healthcare is such a difficult thing to get a hold of, we'll have to figure out what we can do. Marilyn Washington says he was a friend of a friend, and they shot him down in Tampa. Shot who in Tampa, Marilyn? What happened? Explain to us, please. So, paranoid schizophrenia is not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. And don't get it twisted. I got jokes. This ain't funny, though. Somebody died. But I find it also interesting how quickly they were able to shoot him down. Now, we can't say he was an unarmed black man. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't even attempt to try and put this whole thing into that sort of a box. But my personal opinion, I think this was suicide by cop. They say that he was having some problems in his personal life and some other things were going on. He had lost his job. And I personally believe that he had every intention on being killed today, on this Good Friday. It's unfortunate that he ran over a couple of police officers in the process. But what bothers me is that the attempts that are about to be made, and we know they're going to try it, to attach the killing of one of those officers and his rage due to mental illness to one of our most respected and revered spokespeople in the black community. Because despite whether you like Minister Farrakhan's religion or if you've never actually listened to him, let me explain to you that he is probably one of the few, if any, in recent years, and I say recent meaning 30 to 40, who has spoken toward the love of our people and us loving one another. Not necessarily unconditionally, but learning to understand us, learning to understand ourselves in ways where we can unite and be better for each other, and not always finding ways to condemn one another. It is very easy to follow the ideology of Louis Farrakhan. He's one of the few people, theologians, scholars, that has actually studied all the religions, not just the one that he claims is the best one, like most Christians and most people from Islam and other religions who claim that their religion is the one true religion. He has studied them all immensely. The man is a scholar. The man is brilliant. He has done tireless work in the way of attempting to bring people together, but he also is not a fool. And I really am going to be very upset when the media, not of course the black media, I don't know, some of the black media might try it too, but when they try to demonize, and see, this is where we got to be careful. Here's a guy who flipped out because he was having personal problems, did some damage, and then turned around, and now they would like to try and connect the damage and the things that he did and that he's ill, he's sick in the mind, to a man who has done, in my best opinion, nothing but good in the black community. He has brought many men around from lives of crime, drugs, brought many men into being men from boys. Men who were abusers, men who were losers. And he created winners. And he's done it over and over and over. And what I don't understand is how we have so many people in our own community in such bad shape, and you can't just simply follow the blueprint. The blueprint is incredible. Anyway, I hope that we don't have to witness that, because I personally am very tired of the demonization and dehumanization of my people, and particularly attempts to assassinate the character of individuals who do work toward the betterment, the uplifting, the positive movement and motivation of black people, particularly black men in our community. I'm tired of watching these men having their character assassinated over and over and over again for the sake of white power. Because any time, any man, and we can go back and do the homework, do the history, every black man that has ever stood up for the empowerment, for the equality, and the strength of black people has either been killed physically, assassinated, or they have had their character assassinated to the degree where even black folks turned on them. Got to be more careful, y'all. We got to be careful. So I'm hoping that this don't turn into that, because I'm going to be very upset about it, and I'm going to have some things to say. Anyway, this guy, Noah Green, 25 years old. Now, apparently he'd been struggling with his own problems during this pandemic, and he is what they're calling a self-described supporter of Farrakhan. What I also am going to be interested to see is how they handle this in a comparison to the insurrectionists. You had people who attacked the Capitol, who attacked democracy. Now, although this guy says that America is this country is black folks' number one enemy, I mean, let's face it, we're talking about a single individual suffering from mental illness who rammed his car into a barricade. I don't know how many of y'all have been to Washington, but I'm going to tell you, they got these in certain areas of the city. They have these barricades that go down into the ground, and whenever they're ready to raise them, they pop up out of the ground, and I promise you, you're not running past them. You're going to hit that thing, and it's going to tear up whatever you're in. This was one of those type of barricades in the ground that he hit. Even if he made it up to the Capitol, he wasn't going to do anything. They haven't, as yet, I don't know yet, they're still investigating. They haven't yet found any weapons other than the knife that he had. Who brings a knife to a gunfight? I'm not real sure. We all know how easy it is to get guns in America, so I'm not exactly sure what was on his mind. He had to be crazy to even do that. So there you go. But if the news media or others make any attempts at demonizing him for attacking the Capitol, I am going to go and purchase a mirror factory, and I'm going to give each one of them a mirror and ask them to look in it for themselves and tell us why we have such disdain for a mentally ill person who will attack the Capitol versus those who deliberately set about attacking the Capitol in hopes of overturning democracy. I think this one is best swept under the rug. And that's not to say that there's any disrespect toward the officer who lost his life, because like I said, I have a very good friend who is a police officer there. And it is becoming more like operating in a third world country and being in the military, because they have to look over their shoulder at every turn to make sure that nobody is trying to get at them and to attack those those types of targets. They are the front line. So that is no disrespect to them, but my guess is that now that this guy is dead, they'll do an investigation, and if they are smart, they will let it go at that once they find out the motive or whatever the case may be. But don't come for Louis Farrakhan. Don't try it. I'm speaking that right now. Black media, we see things differently. Why? Because we're black. Because we walk in a black man's shoes. Because we walk our black lives, and we understand the differences. And trying to make this about him, that dog ain't gonna hunt. I don't want to see that happen. Now, that is critically important. Dennis McCullum just checked in, y'all. Everybody show Dennis McCullum some love. Throw them hearts up for my man. He said, just because he can't find a job, does that mean he has mental illness? Dennis, if you go and crash your car into the barricade at the Capitol in Washington, I'm going to just have to say you're a little crazy, right off the top. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's mental illness. It ain't got nothing to do with the job. Y'all show Dennis McCullum some love, man. Throw them hearts up for my man. He is right now recovering from the COVID. He was up in the hospital, y'all. Dennis, hey, man, here you go, baby. Here, I got one for you. You put that one on, you be all right. So, anyway, I don't want to see, the type of bad publicity that they've always tried to put on someone who said exactly what needed to be said. What they want is for him to be docile like everybody else. Like, just don't, you're not supposed to say that. That's why they wanted Billie Holiday to stop singing Strange Fruit. That's why they get mad whenever somebody speaks up and says the things that makes them look bad, even though they are bad. They want to be bad, but they don't want nobody to point out that they're bad. Not how this works, y'all. So, all of this, and another funny thing I was thinking to myself, especially since this was a young black male, I wonder if he voted. Now, he said that the United States government is black folks' worst enemy. I would really, really, really love to know if this guy voted. You know why? Just today, y'all, it's something about our young people. And I'm not pointing a finger or blaming them, because whatever they are, we created. Whatever they are, we are the reason, because we raised them. But I'm really struggling with as many young people as I'm running across these days who have found that they keep coming up with this mantra. They like mantras. Voting don't count. Voting doesn't matter. And I'm really trying to understand where that came from and why. But just today, I got a DM from somebody that asked me, could they publish page 113 of my book, y'all, The Black Factor. Get your copy at bmforbes.com. They asked me, could they post page 113 of my book for the sake of notifying someone in their family why it's necessary to vote. Because he was telling me it was some young folks that weren't quite clear on why it was a necessity. You really have to understand your history. And unfortunately, so many of our young people are not given the proper information. And of course, they don't study the history the way that we would like for them to, so that they can understand the necessity of voting. And again, I'm really stumped by him, and I just wonder, did he vote himself, or did he just take it upon himself to go off? Now, number one, voting allows each individual a voice about who represents you and your community and the nation. When you're a registered voter, a lot of times you're placed on the jury duty roster. And of course, if we're worried about how situations turn out, how cases turn out, you have to realize that if you're not a part of the process, if you're not sitting in those jury boxes, you don't get to tell a person they get to go home because the crime that they have committed or supposedly, allegedly committed is not their fault or they're not guilty. Because we leave it into the hands of others. Just the same way when you don't vote, you leave the laws that are created in your community to the hands of others. In other words, you just give it away. You behind the steering wheel, but you let the wheel go. Like, yeah, man, you drive. Yeah, stay over there, but you drive. See, it's what we do. And it's not even just our presidential elections, and that's another place we make a big mistake. We think the only time we vote, we're supposed to vote is when the presidential elections come. No, ladies and gentlemen, we often vote every 2 years minimum. It's a necessity because you have to pick your local leaders, the same as you pick your national leaders, if you intend to have things go in a way that's going to be beneficial for you and your family and your lifestyle. It's a necessity, y'all. I'm going to find out. I'm going to really find out if this guy voted. I know he's dead. That's not important. I'm just curious. And I know he's obviously got mental issues, but I'm hoping that they're not going to try and spin this into something else. All right. So with all of that said, Riri says, I used to get selected for jury duty all the time. I'm glad they widened the pool. Yes, I am too. I get picked quite often. I like it. Dennis McCullum said, don't let voting go full circle to where we don't have the right because history can repeat itself. Dennis, that is my whole point. That is the part that I cannot seem to stress that enough or get that through people's heads. There are so many things we take for granted. Most people don't even know what's in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, but if you're black and you're walking around in America, please believe that's the reason why. And you don't even realize it. Not to mention the fact that right now we have an unbalanced Supreme Court. And what do I mean by that? It's a mostly conservative Supreme Court. The same way that they gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965 back in 2018 under Obama, because the Republican and conservative majority had control over everything, they went in and they said that one portion, 4B of the Voting Rights Act was unconstitutional based on criteria that was old today. In fact, it's not old because they are now acting upon that very same part of that act to destroy your opportunity to vote. So they struck down a law that in fact should never have been touched and still needs to be in place. But here's the thing. The same way they gutted that Voting Rights Act, who's to say they can't find a clause in the 13th, 14th, or 15th Amendment that would gut that part of the Constitution? Do y'all understand that this is very possible? If you do your history, global history, not local history, not national history, if you do your global history and you start to understand how nations are brought down, how they're built up and how they're destroyed, you will understand that not only is America on borrowed time, but we are going to be the masters of our own destruction. This is why it's important to know. This is why it's important for education to begin at home. This is why it's important for parents to have the will and the strength and the wherewithal to teach our own children what they actually need to know and not the nonsense. Because that's what's going to get us in trouble. We got to be more careful, y'all. I'm telling you, we got to be careful. This is not a joke out here. This ain't nothing to play with. All right. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take myself and my allergy cooties and eat me some dinner. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. Y'all, I made it. I did more tonight than I thought I was going to be able to do. I was able to pull it out a little bit, y'all. And I appreciate you hanging out with me. Don't forget, y'all, voting is coming up again here soon. Be prepared. Get ready. We got to get rid of some of these people who want to destroy our lives, who want to destroy everything that we've worked hard for, who want to take back all of the advances that have been made, although they are few. We can't afford to lose any of them. So y'all get ready. Get your copy of The Black Factor, bmforbes.com. Thank y'all very much for hanging out with me and coming to kick it. And don't forget to subscribe, share, follow. I never can remember all of these. Subscribe, share, follow, like, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a fantastic evening. I'm going to do the same thing. I want to say thank you. It's Good Friday, y'all. Easter Sunday. Did anybody give me an Easter basket? Did any of y'all boil me any eggs? I'm going to go eat me some Easter dye tomorrow. I think I'm going to dye some eggs. No, I'm not. Let me stop lying. My babies is on the other side of the world. I don't even know if they celebrate Easter anymore. Anyway. So with that, y'all, I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Dennis McCullum. Get better, cuz. That's Cousin Dennis, y'all. Get better, Cousin Dennis. I'm going to holler at y'all.